myself and Preston, my son who goes there. And Saturday night, I was like, we have to leave tomorrow. It's like, I don't know, 12:30 when I stumbled home. And I was like, we have to leave tomorrow, and there is no way these kids are going to wake up. And sure enough, they were. I was actually pleasantly surprised they were awake.
And they want one more free meal.
Yeah, that's true. One more free meal. Good point. All right. So today's coaching moment, we're going to talk a little bit about failure. I think, when I look at the call numbers that we saw today, I know you guys can do way more. And I also know that when you do way more, it will lead to you getting closer and closer, if not hitting your goals, which is why I'm willing to have the uncomfortable conversation of like, well, what happened? Like, you guys can do more. And I also know that probably one of the biggest thing that gets in the way of you making more calls is fear. And oftentimes that fear is tied to failure. So I thought, what better thing to talk about today than failing and lessons we can learn through failure. So, failure is trying to teach us something. So the agent who quit one call too early. So there's an agent doing everything right, making all the calls, tracking their numbers, showing up. And then, of course, they end up having a bad week. They're getting a ton of rejection. People aren't answering. People are hanging up on them. Friday hits, and they decide, you know what? Screw it. This week is a waste. I'm not going to call. And, of course, that call they didn't make that day ended up listing with another agent. They call them on Monday, and they're like, oh, man, I wish you would have called me on Friday. I would have, right? Like, awesome. There goes that commission that we could have had. So it wasn't the rejection that cost them. It's the lesson that they didn't learn fast enough. Lessons will, so this is a lesson number one. Lessons will repeat, okay, until they are learned. Right? If the same thing keeps happening over and over and over again, it will continue to happen until you've decided to learn and do something different about it. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Anyone ever been there? Anyone still there on some? Just me and Vicky? Cool. Yeah. Right? I think about conversation. Here's an easy one. Conversations with your spouse. Like, if you want to just, remember this, like, go tell your spouse what to do and recognize you still have not learned the lesson. That telling people what to do, like, go scroll through Facebook and see how many people are telling other people how to think. Clearly, they haven't learned the lesson that does nothing, right? Maybe they just want attention. All right, lesson number 2, experts are people who have already made all the mistakes. Right? Top agents don't avoid failure. They turn every mistake into a rule. So they fail, they figure out what the lesson is, then they implement a system. Make sense? Like, wow, no one's answering the phone. Am I just going to keep doing everything exactly the way I've been doing it? Or am I going to figure something else out? Maybe I'll try texting. Maybe instead of calling through the system, I'll try a different phone number. Maybe I'll try a different time of day. Maybe people aren't staying on the phone very long. Maybe I should say something different, right? We've got to understand that if we are experiencing failure, there is something to learn there. And then once we learn that, we can implement the system. Lesson number 3, confidence gets distorted. We have one bad outcome, and it can outweigh 10 good ones in your mind. Has anyone ever felt that before? Yeah. Adam, you been there? Like, this is what happens, right? Like, I'll throw Brent under the bus here. I bet you Brent couldn't remember one freaking review that was good. But he will tell you, he's got the story of every bad review that's ever been written for our company. Do you guys understand that? Yeah. Do you think that's just the way our mind works? We focus on the negative. Bless you. Significantly more than we focus on the positive. Right? Another thing that I learned through Bold actually taught me this, but like, we're 9 times more likely to avoid pain than we are to move towards pleasure. Isn't that crazy? Like, if I told you someone was coming to steal $10,000 from you in the next week, you guys would absolutely obsess over defending that $10,000. But if I told you, hey, you can go make 10 grand this week, like you'd spend significantly less time trying to make 10 grand this week. Make sense? There was a story. I was actually in an energy efficiency class I took in like 2009. But this lady, this guy was talking about this kind of the same point. He's like, my mom drives to the grocery store every day to buy one banana. And he's like, Mom, why don't you buy 7 bananas, or 5 bananas or whatever? And she's like, I don't want them to go to waste. Right? She'd rather waste gas and time, right, and additional money that way than have one banana go bad. Meanwhile, the grocery store is throwing away thousands of bananas a week, right? Like, I don't know. Anyways, your brain remembers pain a lot louder than it remembers the success. All right, play out the next 3 moves. Skipping one call doesn't just cost one moment, right? It could be the listing that was right there waiting for the next dial. It could be a referral, the relationship that would have multiplied into more business. It could be the compounding pipeline you never got to build, right? When you're thinking about your day from a lead gen perspective, right? If you miss one day, like you never get that back. There is no, I'm going to do double lead gen tomorrow or the next day. So the successful people have figured this out. You can't make that up. So when they figured that out, they've installed a system, which is, I never miss lead gen. Well, how do you never miss lead gen? Well, you prioritize it. That's how. Right? So they make it a priority so that nothing else gets in the way. And that's, if there's one commonality I could tell you from top agents I've had the pleasure of getting to know and coach and lead and be around and be in masterminds with, it is 100% that. They do not allow anything to get in the way of their ability to go forward on the lead generation side. Yeah, I kind of like this. You're not skipping a call, you're skipping a chain reaction. I'm reminded of this particular one here. I was on the ALC. This is like 2017, I think. And I've told somebody this story, but it's very relevant here. I had to lead call day. We had call day once a month on Tuesday, and the different ALC members had to volunteer, and it was my day. And I was like, it was 10 a.m., and I had a ton of stuff going on. I'm like, I don't have time for this. But I get down there, and I'm like, you guys need to call. And then, of course, I'm sitting there, and I'm like, well, I guess I should call. So I pull my phone out, and I just start scrolling, and like the third call I made end up being leading to millions of dollars of commission, literally millions of dollars of commission, because it was a developer friend of mine, the one of the owners of Avamore, who a friend of his had land and he was developing it. And he's like, yeah, I think we're going to sell it to Corey Barton. I'm like, how much? And he told me how much he was going to sell it for. I think 70 grand a lot is what he was doing. I was like, if I could get you more, would you work with me? And he's like, yep. And sure enough, that led to Lake Point. But what I think about that all the time. I'm like, what if I didn't go to that call day? I never would have made that call. So it truly is the case that one call could lead to a chain reaction of significantly more opportunity for you. All right. Risk is better than regret. The calls you don't make hurt more than the ones that go bad. So the failures, right, they create stories. But avoidance, that creates regret. And as someone who's been in, a role of leadership in the real estate world for 20 years now, 18 years now, I can promise you I have met way more agents who regret not putting in the work. They're not agents anymore. A lot of them aren't. But they regret putting in the work significantly more than they did getting yelled at or hung up on or whatever other fear they had. All right. People don't see your choices. No one sees the 50 calls you made. They only see the result. This is a scoreboard business. Think about what we looked at today and celebrated, right? Like, we're seeing the fruits of your labor, but it's just a snapshot in time. And that's why I've said forever, like real estate is a lonely business, even on a team. I mean, it's way better on a team than it is off a team, but it can be so lonely because no one is experiencing the world that you are living right this second. With all your personal shit, all your professional shit, and then the, experiences you're having. But it is nice to have people that, you can talk to about it along the way. All right. Guarantee defeat, and then do the opposite. So if you wanted to fail in real estate, what would you do? Never talk to anyone. You'd wait till you feel good about making a call, right? Wait until you feel motivated to do work. You would take rejection personally. And you would never do the same thing again. You'd be super inconsistent. So the fix is what? Don't do that shit, right? Like, don't avoid the calls. Don't take anything personally. Don't wait to be motivated, right? And this is a good one because one of my favorite quotes from Gary Keller is feedback is the breakfast of champions. My addition to that quote is sometimes it tastes like shit, right? But the people who want to go to the next level, they are seeking feedback all the time. They're the ones who are like, hey, can you listen to this call? Hey, what do I say for this objection? Right? Hey, how do I handle this scenario? Like, those are the people who are growing fast and getting lots and lots of results. So the agents who grow the fastest take full responsibility. They don't blame it on the market, right? What kind of control do any of you have over the market, by the way? So if you're giving the market control, what are you, in essence, what are you doing?
Removing control from yourself.
Thank you. You're removing the control from yourself. Right? So take full responsibility. Don't blame it on the market. Don't blame it on the leads. Don't blame it on the client. Right? Own every scenario. Anyone who's met with me one-on-one to complain about someone else has gotten a very similar experience. Does anyone want to volunteer what that experience is by chance? Vicky does. I'll just tell you so I don't throw anyone under the bus. Anyways, we'll stay here. Here's the experience we get, because if I'm meeting with Rebecca and Rebecca's going to say something like she's struggling with Erin, her daughter. We'll keep this in the family. Well, guess who we're not going to talk about? We're not going to talk about Erin. Why? Why wouldn't we talk about Erin?
She's not in the room.
Because she's not there. So how can we fix someone who's not there? We can't. So when someone comes to me and says, oh, the leads are bad, like the first thing I'm going to say is like, well, tell me how good you are. What's your DNA in this situation? Right? If Rebecca's struggling with Erin, I'm going to be like, okay, well, what could you do differently? Because you're the only one who's here. So take ownership. Feelings versus the plan. Feelings are unreliable. They fluctuate daily. It's not part of the job description. The plan is consistent. It's executable. It's what separates top agents from the rest, right? Like, take this lesson 9 and go back to lesson 1 or 2. The plan is I'm going to speak with X amount of people today. Or the plan is I'm going to do X, Y, Z today. Right? Yeah, I might be dealing with something that's a struggle, but that's not the plan. The plan is to get this done. You know, one of the things that surprised me most, actually, Jason Abrams was telling me about his experience when he first started working with Gary Keller. Gary Keller runs and owns, he's one of the founders and owners of Keller Williams, multi-billionaire, very successful. And Jason's like, day one, he's like, I thought we were going to start at like 4 a.m. and end at like 9 p.m. And he's like, it was nothing like that at all. We started at 9 a.m. and we ended at noon. And after lunch, Gary's like fucking playing his guitar. And Jason's like, what is happening here? And what Gary's figured out is the most important stuff, the plan, is what gets done in those 3 hours. And when you get the plan done, nothing else matters. Right? So what is your plan? You don't need to feel confident to make calls. You need to follow the plan. Your mood is not a part of your job description, right? Like, you might be in a bad mood because you're not getting results. Well, you're not getting results because you're not making calls. So maybe making calls will get you results and then you'll be in a good mood, right? Like, you can't wait. One more time wins. The deal that goes to the person who makes one more call. There's a great book on this. You guys read it recently, right? One More? Power of One More by Ed Milet. Was that like 5 months ago? January? Oh, geez. 3 months ago? Great book. He's got an amazing story. He's an amazing storyteller, Ed Milet, if you want to read that. The first version of that book, in my opinion, is The Compound Effect. And I love that book as well. But if you want to know what it looks like just doing one more, those are 2 reads for you guys. So the real problem, it's not necessarily a skill problem, although I do think you can always work on your skill. It's a consistency problem, right? Like, you come in, it's like the guy who's like, I'm going to go back to the gym, and then they work out 7 days in a row, and then they take a month off. And they're like, I got to get back to the gym. And, by the way, they took a month off because they were sore and tired, their muscles hurt. And then they wait a month, and then they go back, and it's just the same cycle of just punishing yourself. What if you were consistent? Consistency breaks when failure gets misinterpreted. So going back to, if you're failing, and I was going through a really rough patch in the last 3 years. I had some investment stuff go like crazy the wrong way, and a really good friend of mine actually quoted Matthew McConaughey, of all people. And he said, I was listening to Matthew McConaughey, and he says, failing does not make a failure. Failing doesn't make a failure, right? Failing is a thing that just happens. And what makes a man or a woman or whoever, a person, is how they respond to that failure. Because everyone fails. So it's a part of the process. I'll tell a story about Brent, just me watching from the sidelines. I was already running my business for quite a while. He stepped into the scene, and all of a sudden they went from basically him and Jeremiah to like 20 agents and 300 deals in like 2 or 3 years. And from the side, you have all these things in your head. You're like, well, they probably don't make very much money, or all the stuff you tell yourself, right? But there was one thing that I just absolutely admired about Brent, and I still do to this day, is his willingness to fail faster than me is what has got him so much success in such a short period of time. And Gary, I'll never forget, 2013, I think, on stage, he's like, you all need to fail faster. So those are some lessons, in my opinion, for failure. Reframe failure. Failure is rejection. This is the story most agents tell themselves. But really, failure is quitting before the lesson is learned. That's actually failure. You fail, you quit, you don't learn. But when you learn, there is no failure. There's just lessons. So, make one more call than you feel like making today, or make one more conversation or one more relationship. Like, actually, go fail. Like, make it your intent today or tomorrow or this week to go fail. Ask someone a question you're uncomfortable asking. This is what's going to get you to the next lesson. So, what are you guys hearing? Give me some feedback, and then we'll get out of here. I'll give him a mic. Who else? Raise your hands if you got some feedback. 2 or 3 more.
One of the most important things to find success or find out what you should be doing is to fail faster. So just put yourself in situations where you fail.
Yeah. Anyone on Zoom? Anyone else in here?
No one on Zoom? Okay. No, this is great. And I love that you're going through this. This reminds me of the whole process and concept of going for no. Just an awesome thing to do that getting those no's is going to get you closer to a yes quicker. And you can't take it personal, right? Period. And I see it across the board. Most agents completely fail at that consistency. That is like the number one thing I see across the board. So love this. Good stuff.
Awesome. In other words, a trend of people that have success is they are consistent. So if you don't have consistency, like that'd be the first thing I would do is like, what time do you wake up? What time do you go to bed? What time do you show up at the office? What time do you make calls? Like, what if it was the same time every day? I can promise you the most successful people, that is what they shoot for. Now, whether that happens every day, that's another story. But I can tell you that's just a simple way to get yourself in the same conversation as someone who's really, really successful. Is just show up consistently like they do. All right, we got one more. I'm going to call on someone if you don't volunteer. So, perfect. Birthday boy, Hunter. Thanks for. He raised his hand. You guys missed it.
I saw it.
What are you hearing here?
Okay, this is actually really corny. I was thinking about this. I heard it's an actor named Austin Butler, and he's getting interviewed on a train, and he's like, "Embarrassment is an underexplored emotion. Go out there and make a fool of yourself." Like, how many times do we go out and like actually like fail and like get embarrassed? Like, I can't remember the last time.
Saturday night for you, man. I saw you on the dance floor.
Yeah.
Me too. I was dancing right next to you. It was bad. Rebecca knows if I'm dancing.
I don't know who was worse, to be honest.
Probably me.
Yeah, that's just what I thought of, to be honest.
All right. I love it. Okay, let's get some gratitude and we'll get out of here. I don't see Aaron, so I don't know who's on Zoom. Someone on Zoom, unmute and tell us who or what you're grateful for.
Grateful for my family, as always.
Beautiful. I love it. That was Mark, yes. Kim's going next. We need one more.
I'm grateful for Hannah and the pot buys she did. They were a big hit. I'd spent Friday passing out pot buys, and I got a ton of feedback, and it was great.
Real estate is my jam. I thought it was the cutest little thing. Okay, Biggie. Aaron, then Biggie.
Okay. I want to say I'm super grateful for this team and this environment. Just to be surrounded by culture of accountability. I don't know who I would be today if I didn't work on this team. So I'm just super grateful for all that you pour into us and the people I get to learn from.
Definitely just great. Yeah, I think I'm a piggyback off of Aaron. I think grateful just for the team. I think I've talked to so many other agents that are just, they're either starting off or a lot of them are like, have you ever thought about going solo and being your own agent? And I'm like, no, never. I won't ever leave. I'm staying. Just because I don't see myself, for one, I think so much of the support that we get from this team, and then just, I feel like within the team, you build such a big family that I don't really see myself going outside of it. So try to fire me.
Bet. All right, guys. Have an amazing week and go fail.